Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm hoping you guys are all having a fantastic day. So in today's video, we'll be talking about this large snowstorm that is going to unfold across the Midwest and into the Mid-Atlantic and the Northeast. A lot of snow is potentially going to fall. We have quite some significant forecast changes to talk about. So just buckle down, we have a lot to go over. If you guys enjoy these videos, enjoy this type of content, after watching this video, consider subscribing, consider liking the video. And if you have any comments or concerns, leave them down below and I'll do my best to answer them. Let's get into this. Alright, so before we start, I do want to say that I already recorded this video before. I talked for almost 30 minutes. It was a long video. I covered a ton of information, almost 30 minutes. And I only realized then that the microphone, for some reason, wasn't picking up audio. And normally that's not an issue. But I guess from now on, I'll have to check every time whether or not it's picking up audio. So if I do sound worse, if my voice sounds raspy, if I do sound more tired, it's because I've been already talking for half an hour. All right, let's do this for a second time. So the European model probably has the best handle on this system from any other model because of the fact that it's 4 days ago. It was already showing something that is resembling to very similar to what is going on right now. Well, the other models like the GFS, especially the GFS operational one, has been all over the place. So I will show you many models throughout this video, but the model that I want you to pay attention the most to, and probably is going to be closer to reality, is this model, the European model. All right. Let's check this out. So we already got quite a bit of snow across the west with this system. Notice that across California, if we could go with our total snowfall report map, we could see that many locations getting into the 50 to 60 inch range. So it just goes to show you that the system has a lot of potency, has a lot of potential, and you can see that it dropped the snow further into Idaho as well. And obviously now we'll be spreading into the Midwest within around 24 hours from the current recording of this video. All right, so let's take a look at this European model. Look at that. Low pressure develops in Colorado, starts making precipitation from the moisture that it absolutely devours from the Gulf of Mexico. It's very close to the south. You can see it's not far to the north. The moisture gets sucked up very quickly, and it starts becoming a low pressure that is strong. Lots of winds. I would not be surprised to see some blizzard conditions out of this system. While I don't think there will be any blizzard warnings issued further to the north, with this, some blizzard conditions are expected, as this snow will be falling 1 to 2 inches per hour. The winds will be almost blizzard conditions like, and they could definitely cause whiteouts. Now, the thing is, this snow will be heavy in terms of nature of the moisture content. So blowing around with this snow will be really a minimal issue, which is why I think the blizzard conditions are maybe a bit limited, but the winds will be strong, very strong. All right, let's take a look at this. Notice, this is tomorrow at 12 p.m. This is at 6 p.m. We start seeing this precipitation not only transition over to snow, but also push into colder air, which develops snow instead of rain, right? And you may be wondering, well, how is, say, southern Iowa starting off as rain, and then it transitions over to snow? The reason for that is it's called dynamic cooling. It's snowing way up aloft, but it's falling as rain, and then the snowflakes cool things down further and further to the south until it's cold enough all the way for the snowflakes to reach the ground with snow, and that's what happens. Notice this system is moisture laden, lots of precip, lots of rain, and then obviously lots of snow. Don't get caught off guard. This will be falling 1 to potentially 3 inches of snow per hour, with snowfall ratios around 1 to 10, maybe a bit lower, but also probably a bit higher across the higher concentrated areas. Notice what we see. Look at that. Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, Wisconsin, seeing widespread snow into Indiana, Minnesota. This will quickly lose its steam in terms of heavy snowfall rates, right? It goes from ridiculous snowfall rates to heavy, but not as heavy as it was, and then continues to degrade. And notice that it starts lightening up across Illinois, Wisconsin, Iowa, right, Indiana, Michigan. Notice Ohio picking up quite a bit of snow. A lot of cities like Detroit, Cincinnati, Indianapolis are on the line between heavier amounts and lighter amounts of snow, right? Notice that as we push this into Virginia, Maryland, as of Sunday around 6 a.m. in the morning, still snowing across the Midwest. Winding down across the Midwest, I should say, snowing across the Ohio, Indiana area, and picking up across the Mid-Atlantic. Very heavy snow, and look, this is where we start seeing this original low pressure start to transition its energy over to a coastal low pressure, right? We have rain, snow, lots of snow potentially, and this is where the system slows down a lot. right? So you can see that the snow that falls across, say, Chicago is very quick, heavy, and then it's gone. It disappears, right? Look at southern New Jersey or northern Delaware or southern Pennsylvania, right? This system originally brings precip from the parent low pressure. Then the new one starts developing, bringing in more precipitation, intensifying, especially across southern Pennsylvania, into Philadelphia, Trenton, New Jersey, right? Northern Delaware, Wilmington, into Maryland, Washington, D.C., northern portions of Virginia, into West Virginia. And look at that. It just rides up the East Coast. What will be a very tricky scenario is this gradient. Look at that. Very strong winds. Probably blizzard warnings may be issued for these locations here. Probably not the Midwest, but probably for the Northeast. New Jersey, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, you can see picking up on that pretty heavy snow. Again, the cutoff to the north won't be necessarily with rain or snow. It's just snow to no snow, and it will be relatively sharper than you would expect. This pushes into Massachusetts. You can see Cape Cod, maybe Nantucket, transitioning over to ice or completely rain, and into Maine and southern Canada. My friends in southern Canada will also see quite a bit of snow out of this. The coastal areas, say Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, may start off as a 6 inches of snow, so probably close to 15 to 16 centimeters, and then a bit of rain, and then potentially a bit more snow on the backside. Right, so when it's all said and done, you can see that the winds are still going to be howling. I want to show you the snowfall amounts. Again, I think these are pretty realistic and maybe even more realistic than what the National Weather Service has put out right now, and I'll explain in just a bit. So notice, I would say that the Midwest, right, this is pretty confident. I'm pretty confident similar amounts would occur, maybe a bit overdone across central Illinois with that 12 to 13 inch range. Though I do think widespread amounts of 8 to 10, maybe 11 are possible. And that includes maybe into southern Wisconsin, eastern Iowa. Obviously, the further away you go from, say, the axis of heaviest snow, you will get later amounts. The Mid-Atlantic, I'm also relatively confident on that you'll see snow. Washington, D.C., probably half a foot or more. A really large event, one of the larger ones in the past few years. If not the largest ones, if not the largest one since Winter Storm Jonas, I'm not sure exactly. Notice southern Ohio, potentially up to, again, 10 inches. Indiana, Michigan, Detroit, you can see kind of misses out on it, but southwestern Michigan could definitely get in on that 6 inch range. The area that I'm least confident in is the Northeast, as there's going to be a transition of energy, transition of power, if you will, and that will obviously deliver a bit more uncertainty as to how this will unfold. You can see New York City is right on the line between no snow or really small amounts to potentially well over a foot. I think southern New Jersey, Pennsylvania, southern Pennsylvania, even southern central Pennsylvania right there could see, amounts well over a foot of snow. And notice that Maine is a similar situation. A bit of a tricky forecast. Quebec, again, on a line between low snow and a bit of some light to moderate snowfall. So definitely something to watch for. You can see Des Moines, 3 to 4 inches, and Minneapolis right there also on the line. This is, I think, the most accurate forecast. Let me run through more models and show you this. GFS, the model that I think has done the worst out of this, out of all these models I'll show you, and that's just because of its consistency has been rather awful. Notice that its snowfall forecast is all over the place. It has a glitches, weird blobs here, so it's not really pleasant to look at. Let's see if the Kuchera fixes it. No, it does not. It's still looking pretty ugly. All right, so it shows lighter amounts, the lightest out of all the ones in the Midwest, out of all the models in the Midwest. Though still up to 8 inches, right? Quad Cities, 6 inches, 8 inches was for Chicago. Southern Wisconsin, similar range, maybe a bit of lake effect as well. Ohio, the GFS takes it further to the north. Again, don't count your bets on this model. It has done a very poor job, and it doesn't seem to have the best handle on it. Though, what we do see is still a general similar pattern, right? The first wave, the second wave across the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic. So, at least there's that much to this model. Again, I would not focus too much on that model. The next, second best model, aside from the European, I think, is a GFS version 16. It's similar to the GFS, but it's an upgraded version, and man, oh man, it is definitely a better model than the GFS, and I'm glad that it's going to be replaced by it, as it's definitely is aggressive and accurate. So fun for the snow lovers. But notice that what we see across Des Moines, it shows some high amounts. I think that may be quite a bit overdone. If Des Moines sees 4 or 5 inches, that will already be a high-end event. Minnesota, I think it does a very good job with showing the amounts here. 4 to 5 inches is possible. Into Minneapolis, maybe 2 to 3, maybe 4. A bit overdone again with these amounts right here, but up to a foot potentially in 1 or 2 locations is possible. Indiana, Ohio, you can see generally the same trend. It does show Detroit picking up a bit more snow. Again, I don't think that's impossible. I think that, or impossible. Impossible. I think that 4 to 5 inches is possible. The National Weather Service doesn't think so. But again, I'll explain to you in just a little bit why I think they're forecasting maybe a bit more often than you would like. Virginia, West Virginia, Maryland, Delaware, you can see picking up decent amounts of snow. The difference between the version 16 and the European model is, well, it shows more snow into central eastern Pennsylvania. The European cuts us off and doesn't show much snow at all. It shows, up to a foot of snow across Philadelphia, but it doesn't really show any snow across, say, Scranton or Reading, which could easily, definitely pick up, according to this model, over 2 feet. Or, sorry, over a foot. Maybe up to a foot and a half. Right, New York City, a bit more confident with this. The GFS version 16 putting the whole city over 6 inches versus the European that kind of only skims it. And then you can see up towards the northeast, it does diminish some of these amounts, but Boston still picking up on 8 inches. Maine right there, decent amounts as well. And as you go into Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, similar situation. So again, I think this model may have a pretty good handle on it. And you can see this is assuming a 10-to-1 ratio, which is rather unchanged. Again, these amounts are probably a bit overdone. Canadian. Canadian has done a decent job, better than the GFS, worse than the GFS 16 and the European. Still valuable to look at. Notice what it does is show a similar trend. Probably more realistic with the snow across Des Moines. I think there will be more snow across Minnesota than what the Canadian shows. I think the Illinois, Indiana, Ohio area with this snowfall is relatively accurate. Maybe a bit more into northwestern Illinois in reality compared to what the Canadian is showing. And I think this is a pretty good track, but you can see it does show isolated higher amounts, which I think the Canadian is known for doing, showing some areas seeing, pretty high amounts. If you were to look at the Kuchera, I'm pretty sure it shows certain locations getting up to 2 feet. Maybe in the higher elevated areas, but definitely not in the DC metro. Alright, so that's what it shows, right? That's the Canadian. Let me run through a few more models. I showed you all the operational big ones, actually. The United Kingdom meteorological model is another one I would like to show you. Again, I'm just showing you this just to show you the point of variance that is still occurring, but the European probably has the best handle on it. Notice this model definitely advertises for a lot of snow across Chicago, into Milwaukee, a bit more heavy on that lake effect, which could be occurring. I think it does a very, very good job with the snow across Minnesota. And into Iowa, I think it actually does a very reasonable job. Here across central Illinois, I think the cutoff is a bit too sharp. I think it'll be further to the south with this model. It does bring some snow to Detroit, which I think is realistic. Notice northern Indiana, maybe a bit more to the south. Ohio, generally a good job, and up the East Coast as well, a relatively good job. Though some of these amounts may be overdone, but again, if this system formulates and is very healthy, it's not out of the question to see over a foot across Philadelphia or New York or even Long Island, and even Washington, D.C., right? So that's the United Kingdom model. Let's take a quick look at the high-res models. Again, I'm showing you all of these just for the sake of showing you these models and showing you that the consistency is there. They're not varying to a great extent, but each of them may have something that's valid, right? This one shows a bit heavier amounts into Minnesota, which may be just a bit overdone. Shows heavier amounts into southern Indiana, Illinois, which I think are a bit overdone, and generally similar amounts across Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, southern Wisconsin, and into the mid-Atlantic, and it stops at hour 84 as it doesn't go out far enough to show that system, though it does kind of steer it off coast a bit there, so that's a bit of an interesting twist with the NAM, something, again, that could be extracted from this model and looked at in the future to see if it is going to have any sort of accuracy. This is the RDPS, which I would say is kind of like the better version of the NAM. I think there will be more snow across Minnesota. Generally, I agree with those amounts right there. 4 to 5 inches across Des Moines. Cedar Rapids, maybe a bit more. Quad Cities, over 6 inches. Chicago, that 8-10 inch mark, I think is going to be pretty widespread. Indianapolis, I think that's a bit over exaggerated. Those amounts right there. Probably more snow will fall into Ohio and maybe even to western Pennsylvania. I think that does a pretty good job as well. So there are some differences, but we'll just have to watch them. In terms of timing, for those folks that are wondering when this will occur, let's take a look at a very high-res model, which I think is the best high-res model, right? I mean, it's a brilliant model, to be honest. It's amazing. And let's see what it does. So here we have at 6 p.m. today. not much going on. A bit of snow maybe across Cape Cod and Nantucket, and obviously across the west where we have that storm system in a weak form. Notice by tomorrow at 6 a.m. in the morning, we start seeing precipitation rise to the north, right? Missouri, Kansas, Nebraska, seeing good amounts of rain already starting to occur. And within a few hours, at around 12 p.m., we start seeing a full-fledged rainstorm across Missouri, Illinois, and quickly starting to transition over to snow. You could see that reaching areas like Chicago, the Wisconsin border, Indiana, at around the 3 to, well, I would say around 2 to 7 o'clock is when the starting range will be. And not across one given location, but across this whole area. But, you know, by 7 o'clock, most areas should be seeing it. The RAP, right, it introduces the snow pretty quickly, and this is what it shows at 6 p.m. Already widespread into Illinois, Wisconsin, maybe even Minnesota and portions of southwestern Michigan. Some make the timing a bit slower, generally, though, only a couple hours. While I do understand that a couple hours may be rather significant, you know, it's not going to be a busy day. Saturday is a weekend, so thankfully this will be occurring on a less of a busy day. That's a different story for the Northeast, where that could be occurring onto a Monday, but you know, not bad for the Midwest, as this will not be occurring on like a Saturday or on like a Friday evening commute. It's a Saturday evening, so still bad, but not nearly as bad as it could be, right? Notice this system again starts off very strong, very heavy snow, and starts weakening, and you can see that by 12 a.m. so midnight, it's still snowing, though it's lighter snow, not as heavy of a rate. It's still at least moderate to localized heavy. And by the time we get into 6 a.m. Sunday morning, we start seeing the snow kind of starting to break up and pushing into portions of the mid-Atlantic. So yes, Sunday will already be snowing across Ohio, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Virginia, right? And then that spreads into the Northeast. Look at that, very heavy snow amounts, and they start producing even a bit of lake effect there. And this is as of 6 p.m. Sunday. So it progresses, and obviously the confidence is a bit less out as we go towards the Northeast here. So don't, you know, look at Southern Ohio and be like, oh no, we're going to be rain again. The RAP model gets pretty iffy after like hour 35, hour 40, right? In terms of total snowfall, I think it does a very good job in terms of displaying those amounts, and you can see right there what we have. Anything over that pink purple is over 6 inches, and you can see that's blue, right? 3 to 4 or 5 inches. So that pushes it well into Minnesota, Iowa, Ohio, Indiana, good amounts of snow, Pennsylvania, and then obviously it cuts it off because it doesn't go that far out. Let's take a look at individual cities. So I have a bunch of cities pulled out, and I want to start off, by the way, look at that. Warnings across Illinois, Wisconsin, Iowa, watches, Indiana, Ohio, advisories further to the north. Watches right there, that could be associated, that will be associated with that second wave. Here, some of these advisories are not necessarily associated with snow, but some freezing rain and drizzle. All right, I want to start off at Chicago for a reason. So if you recall, I showed you a lot of models, and not a single one really showed under 6 inches. And the National Weather Service shows around 7 to 6. So it's definitely on a lower side of things, their scale. And that makes sense. It's reasonable. And but the only thing that is a bit weird is that earlier on in the day today, they were showing amounts like this for the expected. And now they're decreased that by, you know, 4 or 3 inches. I looked at the forecast discussion to see if I could extract any information, and they did not really seem to mention why they decreased it by 3 to 4 inches. I'm assuming it's just for the reason of not being overhyped, I guess. But again, if you were to ask me, and I would say 8 to 10 inches widespread across the Chicagoland area into northern Illinois, northwest Indiana. If you recall that one event that happened across North Carolina a few days ago, right? The night before, I was making a video. They called for 2 to 3. And I said it would probably get close to 5 to 6 across some locations. And you could go back and check that. And that's what happened. A lot of locations got 5 to 6, and I could tell once when the National Weather Service starts underestimating some of these amounts. So because they're underestimating these amounts, I'm assuming other areas around are also being underestimated. That's why I kind of wanted to start with Chicago. Again, I would say 8 to 10 more likely rather than 6 to 8. Let's start talking about more cities. Let me look at whole states. Indiana probabilistic snowfall. Look at that. Whole state, obviously heavy amounts to the north. Again, they may be a bit higher than what this shows. Obviously dwindling pretty quickly to the south. Find your location and look at it. Again, if you have any questions, just ask them down below. Quad cities, weird areas. There's so many states bordering it. Notice, again, decreasing pretty quickly. And I do want to say that in situations where we have a range of snow line, usually the transition isn't as smooth. Washington may end up with less than half an inch, while Quad Cities may end up with 7. Or it might be, that Washington ends up with 3 inches, and Ottawa ends up with not a single inch, right? So the transition will probably be a bit more sharp than what they're showing here, and some of this may extend into portions of Iowa, that yellow color. So that is what I have to say about Iowa. Again, you can see further to the south, it's generally a bit less. Peoria 0 to 2. You can see the confidence is a bit iffy there as well. This is Iowa. Let's take a look at the whole state of Iowa. Notice that we have Des Moines at around 4. Sorry, that's a high-end amount. I was about to say that was a bit higher. 1 to 3, 1 to 4. So the range is pretty high. 1 to 4, right? 2 to 5, 4 to 7. Confidence is a bit lower. But again, I would not be surprised to see some of these amounts be quite a bit higher here and quite a bit lower. Probably, not even getting anything at all across western Iowa. In terms of now Maryland, we jumped to the Mid-Atlantic. This is actually portions of Virginia and West Virginia. Find your location. Again, this is even further out than what's happening across the Midwest. So I would say these amounts are probably also underdone. A lot of them will probably be in the 8 to 12 inch range, if not higher locally. I do want to say this is for the whole state of Maryland. If you're just wondering, Western Maryland all the way to the south, generally pretty consistent. Again, I would say these amounts are probably going to go up. Ocean City, less than 1 inch. So those areas are going to start seeing some mixing, resulting in lesser amounts. I showed you that. Let's take a look at portions of southeastern Virginia. Pretty good snow, but obviously quickly decreasing as you get towards the Virginia Beach, Norfolk area. This may end up being just not a single inch or even dusting. While up here, it could be up to 5-6 inches. So again, there's lesser confidence on this. You'll just have to check back in. Boston, it's still a bit further out as it's further to the north. So they haven't put up any snowfall probabilities. Minnesota, including Minneapolis, St. Cloud, you could see 2 to 3 inches. I would say that a lot of these locations here may easily pick up 4 to 5 inches instead of 2 to 3, so I think that may be a bit of an underestimate. Probably closer to these amounts across southwestern Minnesota. 4 inches across Twin Cities, 3 inches, I think they will be a bit lower, though definitely not uncalled for. Let's take a look now at what do we have here. North Carolina, right? Yeah, Raleigh, North Carolina. Another area where we could have a rather sharper cutoff. If you look at the whole state of North Carolina, you can see that's what it looks like. Heavy amounts to the north, coastal areas obviously a bit later, but they could see widespread 1 to 2 inch amounts if it does overperform. And it's still a bit further out, so the confidence is a bit lower, right? New Jersey, total snowfall, little tight band of snow. Again, I think this will be a bit more expansive and possibly a bit heavier. It's still far out. Maryland, I already showed you that. Delaware, look at that. A sharp contrast. But again, I think a lot of these locations, if properly, I guess, forecasted for and adjusted for, I think they could end up, seeing 8 to 12 inches here. And again, it's still farther out here than any of the other states I showed you. Pennsylvania, probabilistic snowfall as a event expected as of now. Definitely on the lighter side of things. I think it could be maybe even closer to something like this. Or at least, 10 inches potentially in Reading, Lancaster, maybe not that far to the north as the event pulls away. This is Ohio. I think I will show you Ohio in just a bit. Hold on, right there. Ohio, the whole state of Ohio, you can see, I think up here there could be some amounts to get into the 7-8 inch range, quickly decreasing as you get to the south and east. Again, these amounts, 9 compared to 6 is not that big of a difference, and I think that, it's probably a bigger chance than 10% at this point to occur. Michigan, this is state of Michigan probabilistic snowfall forecast. You can see pretty much nothing to the north, up to half a foot to the south, especially southwestern Michigan. Detroit, maybe 2 to 3 if it underperforms, less than 1 inch if it overperforms, 4 to 5 inches. Showed you Chicago already, and I think I still have to show you Wisconsin. There we go, look at that. 1 to 3, 1 to 4 to the north, right, and greater amounts, probably 8 to 10 to the south. Similar with Chicago, probably underestimating those amounts as well. And that's it for today's video, guys. Thank you so much. I do want to say that the Weather Channel, I think, probably has a better forecast graphic than the National Weather Service with this system. Notice, I think it does a very good job displaying these amounts and the chances of them. And up here, again, this is a bit less confident, but still, Washington, D.C. could easily pick up to a foot. All right, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next episode. See ya.